Surprise, I really go straight in, but we're here now. Yeah, as you can see, we're doing the Catastrophe, and we're moving along through the Bible. When Alan came up to me and said, I want your talk to be Catastrophe, I wasn't quite sure whether it was the subject of the talk or how the talk will end up. But we'll take it from there and we'll see what happens. What is a catastrophe? It's an event causing great and unusual sudden damage or suffering. It's a disaster. So, what's causing mankind the most damage and suffering now? Well, it's turning away from God. It's a society, a world that doesn't universally accept God. But it's not a new thing, is it that? This isn't a new thing. It's been the same right since Eve had a little moment in the garden. And you know, the Bible is only 6 chapters long. I know in real terms that's quite a few years, alright. But we're only 6 chapters in the Bible when God is actually starting to see what man is capable of in real terms. And he does not like it at all. Genesis 6 verse 5 says, "The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on the earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time." Now, that for me is one of the Bible's most vivid descriptions of total depravity. You know, man's sin is God's sorrow. So this period of grace that we had was coming to an end. God had had enough, so a disaster was about to strike. A total disaster. A flood that would hit mankind as it went along. Now, everything was going to be destroyed, and that was even the animals and the birds, who were really morally innocent, really. But because they came under the rule, if you like, of corrupt man, they also had to share the judgment. Which you probably, if you were a bird or an animal, you probably thought that was a bit harsh, really, but to be fair, God knows best. So in this time, God finds one man who's got a godly life, who's got faith, and it's a powerful contrast to what the rest of the people are. Now, although Noah finds favour, we're not stood here saying that this man was sinless perfection. In fact, he could well have been just the best of a bad bunch. It could be, it's quite possible that God spoke to more than Noah about the flood. But Noah was the only one with complete faith. He didn't think of the worldly implications, he was just ready to serve with total faith. So, when God again speaks to Noah, Genesis 6:13, he tells Noah, "I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I'm surely going to destroy them and all the earth." But then, in verse 14, the very next verse, right, he's telling Noah how to build an ark. Well, that sounds like a contradiction in terms. I'm wiping everybody out, everybody, but by the way, this is how you can save yourself. There is a theory that the phrase "all under heaven's earth" may mean all of the range of people in Noah's perception. This is because the term is also used when they're on about the drought in Joseph's time. All under the heavens. Well, really, the drought wasn't. It was just there. And the writer of Genesis possibly had in mind that only the inhabitants of the ancient Near East and the flood may not have been worldwide. But on the other side of the coin, the Apostle Peter, he seems to think that assume the flood and its devastation were total, except for Noah and his family. That's in 2 Peter 3:6. But whatever the extent, although totally fed up with mankind and wanted to teach him a lesson, God is thinking about his people, what he started. And through Noah, he wanted to give mankind another chance. God said he would establish a covenant with Noah, and then he had to take his wife, his sons, their wives, and 2 of all living creatures, male and female, onto the ark. The important thing being that he also had to keep them alive. So even in this time of God's wrath and anger, he's planning for repopulation. So Noah does everything God asks for, again stressing his total obedience. Now, Noah would only fully understand the extent of his covenant with God once this flood was over, once it was all over. Everything was covered on the ark. Clean and unclean animals, unclean for going out and repopulating, clean for the sacrifices and the burnt offerings. God's commitment to his creation and his passion for his work was shining through still. His love was there. So once the flood started, all creatures were wiped out. Said God's gift of creation had gone. And if you think about it, I say all creatures, but if you were a fish or a sea creature, you might think it's your birthday, wouldn't you? All that water flying about, so I'm not 100% what happened to them. And we're there in Genesis, it says, God remembered Noah. That sort of suggests God remembered Noah. You just have a light bulb moment all of a sudden. Oh, Noah. Oh, I've got him floating about an ark somewhere. I better do something about him. No, it was just that this was the time now. It was God's time. And he was going to act with love and concern. Because when God remembers his people, he always remembers them with favour. So, after the rain stops, the flood lasted about 150 days, I think. It was well over a year before the water had dried up completely. And Noah, his family and the animals came out of the ark. The animals and the birds off they went to repopulate their previous habitats, and off they went. But the story of Noah's salvation from the flood just illustrates God's redemption for his children. God extends his loving concern to the whole family of a righteous Noah. And that is a constant pattern in God's dealings with his people. Constant pattern. Because when you think, when God decided on the flood, he probably had 3 options. I'll just wipe them all out. What a mistake that was. I won't do that again. Or, we start again with Adam and Eve Mark II. Anthony and Elizabeth or whatever. Or, I save a righteous man who through faith will become the restart. So, why not? Well, when Noah was told about the flood, he built the ark because of faith. He expressed complete trust in God and his word when he related to things that were yet unseen. He had faith in God's word, and that faith meant he built the ark in a landlocked region where nobody could ever see there ever been enough water to ever float the thing. People thought he was crackers. You'd be walking about, that Noah is not a full showing. But when the floods came, God's word was proved to be true. Noah's faith was vindicated, and people's disbelief was judged. That's what we want. So once out of the ark, Noah gave burnt offerings, which God loved, pleased him, and he vowed he'd never again destroy all living creatures. That's some declaration of love, compassion, caring, kindness. Because God knew, really, every inclination of man's heart can be evil, right from childhood. It must have been easy for him to say, no. So anyway, God makes his covenant with Noah. He blesses Noah and his sons, tells them about, be faithful, go be faithful, here we go again, faith. Increase in number, fill the world. And he also confirms mankind will rule over all creatures, including animals. God's sovereignty promised in the covenant with Noah, Noah's descendants, and all living things, is a kind and gracious reward to Noah's righteousness, to Noah's faith. He was the new father of the human race, and he would never again destroy man on the earth until his purposes for creation are fully realized. So now, human history is now open for God to deal with sin in a new and redemptive way. So, all mankind's got to do is live in a godly way, enjoy the fruits of life, God following his ways. That's all you have to do. It doesn't seem very difficult, really. But, as we all know, man, and that includes all of us here, doesn't always make the right decisions. But if you don't make the right decisions, and you're not going down that route, it makes it much easier for the enemy to get a foothold in life. So here we are, sin will start to come take over again. God honours his covenant. The Old Testament confirms this, and but it highlights the wickedness of man as well. You know, the Old Testament's actually full of great heroes, if you like, of faith, of God, of righteousness. But these people are a small percentage. The rest of the world, if you like, were not. They were letting sin come back. Sin was starting to get the upper hand again. Now God has already promised that he won't destroy mankind. Man, he probably thinks that he doesn't have to destroy mankind because you only have to look about and mankind's doing a marvellous job of destroying itself. So this time, there was no catastrophe, if you like, but there was definitely a disaster for certain parts of the people and the population because Jesus arrived and he brought about a new covenant. What we got here is all who followed Noah into the ark had redemption. All who follow Jesus have redemption. Now they're completely different in approach here. One will wipe out mankind, other will save mankind by Jesus. But the story of Noah, Jesus on earth, both gave mankind the chance to start again. The lesson we can, in fact we should and we must learn, is faith. Faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Man is declared righteous by faith alone, but not by a faith that stands alone. Good deeds cannot get you righteousness, that's okay. But faith, total belief in God, has got to go hand in hand with his works. They've got to go together. Noah believed through faith that the floods were coming. To the world it seemed ridiculous. Faith without question. We all have faith, I think. How much? I don't know. And it's nothing to do with me. How much faith you have is between you and the Lord. But what I would say is, would you build an ark in Darlington? We need to step out in faith. I believe that God will never put you in a position where you're uncomfortable or cannot handle. God is not in the business of embarrassment. Yeah, you might feel uncomfortable, and it's something you think you can't do, and you're out of your comfort zone. But if you're doing it through faith, and you know it comes from God, and you're acting in faith, God will be there for you. We don't know this in the night. God will take risks on you, so you take a risk on God. And you know, we're not always sure. We're not always sure what we hear is from God. Pray into it. Ask God for another word, another sign. The Old Testament is full of people who ask God for more signs. So nothing wrong with it. Ask Him. And He'll do it. But I tell you what we should never do. Should never use God as an excuse for doing something or not doing something. People say, well, that never worked because God wasn't in it. It wasn't God's timing, but it might be in 2 years' time. Now that is true on a lot of occasions. But don't ever use that as a cop-out because you've been given something from the Lord. You can't be bothered to do it for any reason. You're not taking the chance of the open door, and you say, oh, God wasn't in it. No, God might have been in it, but you weren't ready for it. Step out in faith for whatever reason you've got to. We have to make sure, Tony's talked about opportunities this morning, we have to make sure opportunities are not missed. Acting in faith might make you look fool in some people's eyes, might make you look ridiculous. But if you're doing God's work, it's probably worth it, isn't it? You know, ever since I became a Christian, I've done things I never thought I could, or if I'm honest, ever wanted to do. And at first I used to say things like, it's not for me, but I'll try it. And to be honest, I used to say that just to keep Sue happy. I think, at least to try it anyhow. But once you did, and God put you in it, you were enjoying it, and you wanted more. God knows best in these cases, believe it or not. Yeah. You know, sometimes you might think, well, he's not great at that, but he's better than nothing. But I'm there, and I can list them. Church holidays, never fancied them, love them. Leading life groups, foreign prayer trips, hosting meetings, pastoral deacon, speaking, part of the leadership team. Anyone who really knew me years ago would not have thought that possible or even likely. Thank you, Christine. Yeah. But God will not let you down. You know, a story that won't let you down is one of the elders at MCC, a friend of ours, had connections with a church in Glasgow. And the leader of this church in Glasgow had asked him to take a team up there for a prophetic workshop and weekend. So he decided a team of 6 would be ideal. And he thought about who would go. There was, some of you know, Craig and Karina, and he said, Teddy and Alan were at TVCC at the time, were also friends of ours, and Sue, who has a prophetic gift. And who was the one for the 6th one? Me. Now that was a surprise to most people, me included, because I've got to say, in a case like that, I will be more pathetic than prophetic. But you know. But anyway, off we went to Glasgow. And to everybody's surprise, my amazement, Sue's complete amazement, prophetic words were pouring out of me. They just were. And you know, when that weekend was over, I would never say I'm prophetic. Everybody has a prophetic gift, I believe, and it can be nurtured, but it's another thing. But if I was listing things that I may be not too bad at or half decent at, prophetic would be way down the list. In fact, it might not be on the list at all. But that weekend, when I stepped out in faith, I went to Glasgow more in hope than expectation. God did not let me down. He was there. And when you do, what you do is ask God, and it doesn't always quite work out. I think he has a bit of a sense of humour sometimes, really. But 2 years ago, it's just 2.5 years ago nearly now, my best mate died. And he knew he was dying. And I thought to myself, I've got to speak to this lad before he dies. So I'm praying and I asked God, and I felt like God was saying, what are you messing about? That's something you know you have to do it, get on with it. So I thought, he said, I'll open the door for you. The opportunity's there. So I thought, I'm in here. God's with me, I'm in. So I've got my strategy, and my strategy is, my opening line, I'm frightened of dying. He says yes, and I'm straight in with it, telling him about God, you don't have to be. So God opens the door, the conversation starts, and I say to him, are you frightened of dying? No. I said, what? No. It's the wrong answer, isn't it? My whole strategy's gone out the window. But, God was laughing, but it was alright. It led to other things, and we had the conversation, it was alright. You've got to be prepared. It doesn't always work out exactly how you think or hope it would be. Complete faith in the Lord can be hard to maintain. Because sometimes things don't work out as we want them to. Sometimes they don't work out as we expect them to. And also, we are human. So we have our own thoughts. And sad things happen to Christians, bad things, they don't happen to Christians just the way they do to non-Christians. But what I would say to you is, how bad would things be? How hard is it to get through things if without God, if in your life and faith in his ways? Faith is trust. And if you have faith, trust in God, God will trust in you. Go about God's work voluntarily. Not for ulterior motives where somebody might think, well, I'm a good person there. Or think, well, God will like me better for that. To be funnily enough, he won't. He knows what you're like anyway. Having faith in God gives you the power and the confidence to not just defend yourself, but also to attack the enemy. That's important. This talk, it says catastrophe. Well, it was a disaster, but it was brought about by man's sinful and ungodly ways. But what came from it was anything but a disaster. It showed us God's faithfulness, his love, his compassion, his caring nature. It showed how faith is important. Keep mentioning faith. I'm sounding like a Northern Soul DJ. Keep the faith at all times. Faith is important. Faith cannot be underestimated. I'd just like to leave you with this. Just remember what God wants for us. And also remember, we trust in a God that only does what is right. Thank you.